Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. My name is Megan and I am the witch here around the cauldron. Today, I want to talk about prayer as a pagan. So I'm a pagan witch, right? And I wasn't always a pagan witch. I came from a Christian background. I wasn't an evangelical Christian or anything super serious, but I did have a Christian background. I went to church, I prayed to God, and then I found Wicca, and fast forward 20 something years and now I'm here. Prayer has always been something that I find difficult to talk about in community spaces because it's been my experience that a lot of pagans have this aversion to prayer or even just the word prayer. I want to talk about that because as pagans, we can still pray. It just might not look like what you're used to if you came from a Christian background or a monotheistic background or anything other than paganism. Because as a pagan, when you pray, nothing's really changing except the person that you're talking to and maybe the way that you pray. So as a pagan, your prayer might be structured or it might not be structured. Prayer can be requests, it can be gratitude, it can be petitions, it can be devotionals, it can be simple conversation. It can be done daily, it can be done weekly, monthly, sporadically, whenever you feel like you need to pray. It's all up to you. And prayer doesn't have to be verbal. You don't have to actually say anything. You can pray in your mind with your thoughts. You can sit in your feelings and convey your emotions without having to think specific thoughts or say specific words. You can pray with your actions and let your actions speak for themselves. If you're praying for gratitude or if you are doing a devotional, different things like that, your actions can be your prayer. So if you struggle with praying as a pagan, I have a few things that I want you to consider. And these all come from my personal experience and how I struggled to pray as a pagan when I first found paganism versus now where I pray when I need to, but sometimes the conversations that I have with my gods don't look like prayers at all. So if you're struggling to put a prayer together and you want it to be structured or you really are afraid of doing it wrong, let me stop you and tell you this. Don't overthink it. When you overthink the way that you're putting your prayers together, you can get yourself stuck in that the thought process of I'm gonna do it wrong, I'm gonna mess up. What if they don't like my prayer? What if nobody's listening? What happens? What if yada yada, right? Don't overthink it. Start simple and first consider who you're praying to. That's going to have a little bit of an impact on how you pray depending on the tradition that you're in. If you are in any sort of tradition that has a formal structure, then you're going to want to default to those sort of formal structures and seek out an elder or a mentor in those traditions. I'm speaking as a general pagan polytheist that doesn't have a structured tradition that I'm part of. So if that's you, first consider who it is that you're praying to. You don't have to write your own prayers. If they have traditional prayers that have been used by others in the past, it's okay to use those. It's okay to use their titles. It's okay to come up with your own prayer. It's also okay to use ancient practices for inspiration for your modern practice. If there are no ancient practices and there's no record or reliable record of how this particular god or goddess was prayed to or worshipped, then it's usually okay to start with what feels right for you, because I guarantee you that if the god in question doesn't like what you're doing, they're going to let you know. And it's not going to be some earth-shattering, I'm gonna smite you because you said my name wrong type of thing. That's really dramatic. Usually it'll be a feeling you get, or maybe your candle will go out, or you'll do divination and they will let you know that they don't like a certain thing that you're doing. But it's generally okay to not overthink it and just speak from your heart, or say or recite traditional prayers that have been used in the past. And don't forget that structure isn't necessary, but structure can be a good thing. And I'll give you an example from my own personal prayer practice. When I first started praying daily to Scribd, I struggled with what I wanted to do and what I wanted to say, especially if I didn't have anything to say. Because there's a lot in my life that I can be thankful for and that I can be grateful for, but there's a lot of that stuff that Scribd didn't really have a hand in. So I'm not going to pray to Scribd for, give Scribd thanks for bringing me, I don't know, this house or whatever, because Scribd didn't have a hand in that. And that feels kind of silly to thank her for something that she had nothing to do with. So when I first started praying to Scribd daily, I found a prayer in Morgan Daimler's Scribd book, the Pagan Portals Scribd book written by Morgan Daimler. And it's the genealogy of Scribd. This particular one is an adaptation of the Christianized prayer to Saint Scribd, but it was one I was able to print out and keep on my altar space. And it's also one that I was able to memorize fairly easily. And so having that memorization, I was able to sit in stillness and not have to worry about remembering the words that I wanted to say because I already had them memorized. So I could say this prayer, the genealogy of Scribd, while I light my candles, take my 3 deep breaths, and then, ask Scribd for something if I need something, or just tell her how I'm feeling about something, or whatever I wanted to do. The structure of that prayer helped push me forward into my own practice, where I got more comfortable praying out loud. I got more comfortable speaking out loud to Scribd, to gods in general, or other spirits. And that comfort is really important to me as I'm praying, because if I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to feel weird and my focus is off and I'm not giving the full attention to the gods in that moment like they deserve during a prayer. If you want to write your own prayers, there's generally a structure that some people follow, or there's different types of prayers. The first part of a prayer obviously is going to be the invocation. Who exactly are you talking to? Get their attention, say their name, their titles, their epithets if they have any. And this is also a good way to remind yourself of who you're talking to and get into the right mindset as a human speaking to a god, speaking to a deity, a higher power. You can do prayers for praise. If you're really in a worship mood and you want to talk to your gods, but you don't have anything to ask for and you don't really have anything else to say, you can just give them praise. For example, I could say a prayer to Scribd and give her praise for the way that she heals people and the way that she is equitable in her lessons and the way that she doesn't take shit from anybody. And I think those are all admirable qualities and admirable things that Scribd has done and continues to do, and she is worthy of my praise. You can pray to give thanks. If you petitioned a deity for something and they came through for you and they helped you out, say a prayer for thanks. Thank them for what they've done for you. Don't forget the offerings. When you ask for something, it's not a bribe the way that it sort of appears on the surface and the way that it might look to some people on the outside of paganism. Giving a gift, giving an offering before asking for something is an act of reciprocity, not an act of bribery. It is generally seen as, yes, a gift for a gift, but it's part of maintaining a relationship instead of always asking for something or demanding things from the gods. It's a way to stay in good relationship standing with the deities. Because even as a friend, I would not want someone to constantly be asking me for things or asking me for help if I never got anything in return that benefited me in any way or made me feel like I was important in more ways than just what I have to give, you know? So that's the purpose of giving offerings when you're asking your deities for something. And don't forget that you don't have to be so formal. In its simplest form, prayer is just a conversation with the gods. That's all it is. Yes, it can be structured. Yes, you can have very specific prayers that you say on a regular basis. Like the genealogy of Bridget is one that I try to say every day when I remember, or once a week. Obviously, it depends on what's going on in my life right now. Just talk to your gods. It's okay to pray to them. Don't let your fear or your trauma or your distaste for Christianity and the word prayer get in the way of you having conversations with your gods. They are there for a reason. Obviously, you have them in your life for a reason. And it's not just to have their statues sit on a shelf and look pretty. Talk to them. Tell them what you need. Tell them what you want, what you desire. Tell them how you feel and your struggles, and give them your praise, because again, they're in your life for a reason. Obviously, you were drawn to them for something. You can even just tell them about your day. Tell them how things went. Did you have an exciting thing that went on and it turned out in your favor? Tell them of something that made you think of them during the day. Even just as a friend, that would make me feel really loved and appreciated, because it lets the gods know that you're thinking of them, but also that you're not necessarily here just to benefit from the relationship you have with your gods. But most importantly, when it comes to prayer as a pagan, one thing that I was never really taught in Christianity was learning to listen. You can pray and you can talk all day long, up one side and down the other. But you also have to sit in silence and learn how to listen to their responses. Because prayer as a pagan is not a one-way street. It is communication between you and your gods. And communication goes both ways. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, this sort of sit-down chat. Prayer has been on my mind lately, and I don't know, I just felt like I wanted to talk about it and share my experience and share some of my tips, I guess, on how I deal with prayer and how I pray personally as a pagan. So if you haven't already, make sure you give the video a thumbs up, subscribed if you're not already subscribed, and ring the bell so you can be notified of when I post new videos. Check out my membership program where you can get exclusive access to spells and meditations, first access to new content, and so much more. Follow me on social media and sign up for my newsletter. All of my links are in the description below. And with that, I will talk to you next time. Bye.